Welcome to the deep dive. And this one, well, this deep dive is for you, the learner, because you've given us a stack of sources that is, it is just all over the map. We're going from local politics to Disney World.
It's a real study in contrasts, isn't it? You're looking at accountability, but in these totally different worlds. Public service on one side, and then legislative maneuvering on the other, and then we throw in professional development.
Right. So our mission here is to find the thread that connects all these dots, to give you that shortcut to being completely up to speed. And we're going to start right at the local level with a big piece of career news that really anchors this whole thing.
Yeah, the material kicks off with this significant new role, the appointment to Chief Policy Officer for Jackson County, Missouri.
Which is a huge job.
Yeah.
But the context here is what's really interesting.
It is. This position reports directly to the new Jackson County executive, who, as the sources note, is the speaker's brother.
Exactly. And, you see that, and your mind might immediately go to political situations like the Cuomo brothers in New York. But the source material frames this very differently. It's less about nepotism and more about a deep personal level of trust and commitment.
Right. The whole goal here, and the sources are really clear on this, is to do a complete reset for the county. They're trying to fix what they call a low reputation from the last administration.
So it's about bringing accountability back.
Exactly. And when you need to make big structural changes fast, you bring in someone you trust without question. It just speeds everything up.
So that's personal accountability at the local level.
Mm-hmm.
But let's zoom out to the national stage where, accountability can get a lot messier. The sources give us some interesting bellwethers from recent state elections.
They did. These are often the elections that hint at what's coming in the next big national cycle, and the data points to a pretty clear trend.
So what did we see?
Let's start with the governor races. In Virginia, the Democrat got 57.14% of the vote. Now, compare that to the 2024 presidential results in the same state. That's a 6% jump for the Democrats, a big swing.
And was that a one-off, or did we see that elsewhere?
Nope, same pattern in New Jersey. The Democrat there won with 56.4%, which is about a 4% increase over the presidential numbers.
So when you put it all together, what's the national takeaway?
The takeaway is that Democrats seem to have gained about 5% nationally compared to their 2024 performance. It looks like they're successfully turning these state races into sort of referendums on what's happening at the federal level. It's a real warning sign.
Speaking of what's happening at the federal level,
Yeah.
The sources then pivot to the fallout from that 43-day government shutdown, the tangible costs.
And the fallout was, well, it was immense. Just looking at the economics, the shutdown is estimated to have cost $6 billion.
$6 billion in private sector jobs alone, right?
In private sector jobs alone, it's just a staggering price for political gridlock.
And then there's the bureaucratic mess it leaves behind for regular people.
Oh, absolutely. You had 1.4 million federal workers waiting on back pay. The IRS said it would take them 2 to 3 months just to sort through extension files.
Why so long?
Because they had more than 40 days of mail that was just sitting there, completely unopened.
Unbelievable.
It is. And the disruption even hit our infrastructure. 40 major airports had to keep a 6% cut in flights even after the government was back open. The problems just linger.
Which brings up a huge question about what's happening inside these legislative bills. The sources pointed out some pretty controversial things that got slipped into a spending bill by Senate Republicans.
This is where it gets really fascinating. You have a group of senators, we're talking Lindsey Graham, Josh Hawley, people like that, and they managed to sneak in this very specific clause.
Okay, what does it do?
It allows them, specifically named senators, to sue the federal government for $500,000.
For what?
For seized phone records. And the source suggests it's not really about winning a lawsuit, it's about getting a quick settlement from the Justice Department, a payout, basically.
A $500,000 payout funded by taxpayers.
That's the idea. It's using a must-pass spending bill for, well, personal gain.
And that wasn't the only thing, right? There was something about hemp.
Yes. Language was added that would ban a lot of consumable hemp products, anything with more than 0.4 milligrams of total THC.
You don't need to be an expert to know that's a tiny amount.
It's tiny. It's basically a ban on most of the CBD and hemp products that are legal in states right now. It completely steamrolls state-level laws, including ones that, help kids with autism get access to these products.
So you have to wonder what the political motivation is behind something so targeted.
Right. And speaking of political distractions, the conversation then shifted from that whole shutdown mess straight to the Jeffrey Epstein documents release.
And the analysis of the political reaction was Interesting. The source claimed that former President Trump's name was everywhere, but that he was called the dog that didn't bark.
Yeah, that's a direct Sherlock Holmes reference. The
Oh.
idea is that the most important clue is the thing that didn't happen. So the implication is his name was there a lot, but maybe not in the specific criminal context people expected, which makes you wonder about the context where it did appear.
And his reaction on Truth Social was pretty telling.
Oh, it was a masterclass in deflection. He posts this demand for the AG and the FBI to investigate Epstein's ties to, well, basically everyone.
Right. It was Bill Clinton, Lori Summers, Reid Hoffman.
And JP Morgan Chase, he even called it the biggest bank in the world. When you're targeting a list that broad and, frankly, that random, it really just looks like you're trying to create chaos.
To muddy the water so nobody knows what to focus on. It's easy to get pretty cynical hearing all that. So let's pivot. Let's talk about building things up instead of tearing them down. The Orlando trip.
A total change of pace. This was a professional gig at the Wholesale Specialty Insurance Association's conference, the WSIA Edutech Connect conference, to be exact.
And you weren't just attending. The sources say you were MC for the whole 2.5-day event.
MC and session trainer, yeah. It was focused on really practical professional development.
Oh, what kind of sessions?
Two main ones. First was on using the improv idea of yes and to brainstorm business ideas, just getting people to build on concepts instead of shutting them down.
That's a great tool. And the second?
The second was very direct, how to build and deliver a compelling pitch to an executive board. High-stakes communication.
So after all that high-pressure work, there had to be some downtime. And the sources say that meant a trip to Epcot.
It did. Watched the luminous fireworks show, and before that, rode the Guardians of the Galaxy roller coaster.
How was that?
You know, for a minute, it just gives you that feeling of being a kid again. That was pretty great.
I love that. But I also love this detail from the source material, that the Mexican food bowl you ate changed your life more than the fireworks did.
Yes. Sometimes it's the simple things, you know, not the big, flashy spectacle.
A good reminder. And speaking of next steps, a quick note here. You're officially becoming a notary this Friday at 11:40 a.m. One more certification in the tool belt.
Right. Okay, so to round out this whole diverse stack of material, let's talk about the culture you are consuming. After tracking government waste, sometimes you need to dive into something else entirely. Let's start with the Grammys.
Yeah, big news there. Kendrick Lamar is leading the pack for the 2026 nominations. He has 9 nods, including all the big ones, album, record, and song of the year.
So he's dominating. Anyone else?
Oh, yeah. Lady Gaga, Bad Bunny, Sabrina Carpenter, they all got multiple nominations, so it's a pretty widespread.
Okay. And then there's this note about Meghan Markle making a comeback.
Right. The Duchess of Sussex is apparently ending her 8-year break from acting. She's last on Suits back in 2017. Now she's got a cameo lined up in a film called Close Personal Friends.
That'll get a lot of attention. And of course, there's Taylor Swift news.
Of course. A trailer just dropped for her new 6-part Disney Plus docuseries, The End of an Era. Promises a lot of behind-the-scenes tour footage and, yes, moments with Travis Kelce.
We also got a TV review for Ryan Murphy's new show on Hulu, All Fair, the one starring Kim Kardashian.
And how's that going over?
Not great. The reviews are pretty mixed, a lot of comparisons to the famously bad movie Showgirls, but some critics are saying it could be a perfect hate watch because of its over-the-top girl boss vibe.
Sometimes that's a recipe for success. And finally, a recommendation.
A really good one. The 4-episode series Death by Lightning. It's about President James Garfield's assassination. And the best part, it stars Nick Offerman-Ron Swanson as Vice President Chester Arthur.
Oh, that sounds fantastic. What a mix of history and great television.
So we really have covered the map today for you, the learner, from, trying to reform a county government all the way to pop culture and professional growth.
It's an incredible range. And the sources had one last little political detail that I found interesting. This growing splinter between Marjorie Taylor Greene and former President Trump. It almost feels inevitable, doesn't it? When an alliance is just based on convenience.
It really does. But let's end with a question for you, because we talked about some really serious stuff with that spending bill. You saw senators literally writing themselves a potential $500,000 payout.
And banning common products on the side.
Precisely. So the final thought we want to leave you with, the learner, is this. What mechanisms, if any, what could realistically prevent these kinds of politically motivated, self-serving clauses from being slipped into essential spending bills in the future? That's the real puzzle of good government, isn't it?